What is going on, comic book gang? My name is Jiangxi, aka Year of the Collector, and this is episode 8 of Marvel's comic book event, One World Under Doom. Technically, this is part 25 or issue 25 in this series, but I am not reading nor covering all the tie-ins. So, for all intents and purposes, this is episode 8 on my channel. Today we're going back to the main title, One World Under Doom, issue 3, which honestly wasn't the strongest issue of this event so far, but it does have some cool moments and a crazy reveal in the end. So let's get to it, shall we? Life imitates art once again. I say that to highlight that in the same way the markets have been up and down because of the US government economic and foreign policies, the same way the stock market is on the come up after Doom's open borders announcement. That took place in the previous issue when Doom was at the United Nations Embassy in New York. He told the world they were free to move across countries as they pleased. This was well received by the public present, but now we also see the stock market reacted positively to these immigration policies, which once again is just another one of those things Doom has done where people are legitimately benefiting from. From there we go to issue 3, where in the Impossible City where Mordok and Dr. Octopus are the last two guests to arrive. Inviting your enemies to your home is asking for trouble, but the Avengers took all the measures necessary to prevent any of these villains from taking advantage of this opportunity. So yeah, here's everyone, the Avengers and the Masters of Evil. If you never heard of the Masters of Evil before, that's okay. They're not your A-tier villain club, not typically anyways. This club has changed rosters throughout the years, but the originals first debuted in the Avengers first run in issue number 6 from 1964. So yes, they've been around for a while. The originals were Nathan Garrett, the Black Knight, the first Black Knight was a villain, Melter, and Radioactive Man. They have been a nuisance since the 60s, and here they are again with a new roster, as you saw in the previous issue. Mordok, Doc Ock, Arcade, Madeline Pryor or the Goblin Queen, Hysteria, and Baron Mordo. As you can imagine, regardless of this reunion, there is no love lost between these two groups. Thor got all over his feelings because Arcade teased him a bit for losing to Doom. Storm and Iron Man had to talk him down. I swear, Thor is just the worst. Anyways, enough Thor slander for now. Captain Marvel breaks down why the Masters of Evil are here, and it boils down to firepower. Yes, the Avengers have lost 2 times already to Doom, if you're keeping score. When they try exposing him for working with a fake Baron Zemo, that didn't work. He turned around and killed all the Hydra guys that were working for that fake Zemo, making himself look like the big hero. The second failed attempt came in the previous issue when the Fantastic Four tried to embarrass Doom by confronting him directly, like they've done so many times before. And I know it sounds stupidly simple, but this approach has proven to work in the past. For example, in the Fantastic Four run by Dan Slott of 2018, there was this story called Herald of Doom in issues 6 to 11, if I remember correctly, where Doom had this incredible plan to lure in Galactus to steal his power. And you know what was the craziest part? It was working for a minute. He managed to capture Galactus after an intense battle between the Fantastic Four, Dr. Doom, and his new herald called Victorious. Once Galactus was subdued, he had the people of Latveria build this entire infrastructure from the location where Galactus was subdued back into Latveria to siphon his cosmic energy or whatever it is Galactic power is made of. Don't quote me here, I just read the thing, I'm not an expert. Doom had captured and subdued the Fantastic Four also because Reed warned him about the dangers of harnessing cosmic energy, specifically Galactus's energy. So he stretched and froze Reed to keep him subdued. He restrained the thing. He kept Johnny Storm in a tank in some sort of liquid to avoid him going flame on. Sue was less complicated but equally evil. She was held inside a room with loud noises to stop her from concentrating so she wouldn't be able to use her invisible shields. I know, it was more complicated than that, but you get what I'm saying. So I know you're asking, how did the Fantastic Four embarrass Dr. Doom to stop him? Easy. Sue Storm used her invisible shields to effectively remove Victor's metal armor by making it invisible, while the whole world was watching, no less. If you think that's no big deal, you don't know Dr. Doom. There's a reason Victor always wears this metal armor. He could not bear be seen without it. That gave the Fantastic Four the window they needed to break out from their restraints, and long story short, the hero saved the day by returning Galactus his power, and he went on his merry way. So back to One World Under Doom issue 2. And I'm sorry if this is going on a tangent, I just wanted to show that the Fantastic Four's plan wasn't that dumb. Like, yeah, it's simple, but sometimes the simple answer is the right one. But unfortunately, as you may know, it didn't work this time around. When they broke into the United Nations, Doom was ready for them, and they were the ones embarrassed instead. So that takes us back to this meeting between the Avengers and the Masters of Evil. And they had some legit questions, the Masters of Evil. With the Avengers being 0-2 versus Doom, how does adding the extra hands change the outcome of this fight against the new Sorcerer Supreme? Captain Marvel explained the following. The extra hands they recruited to fight Doom directly is not the real plan, it's just a distraction. They are going to occupy Doom's attention while Scarlet Witch, Baron Mordo, and Madeline Pryor use their magic to dive into the minds of the world leaders who are working with and for Doom and break whatever spell they are under, right? That is the assumption that all of these world leaders are going along with Doom because they have to be under some spell. The plan doesn't sound great for the ones that are going to be used as bait, but the one thing they all agree on is that they absolutely refuse to be under Doom's thumb. So they all sign up for the plan. So there they were on the outskirts of Latveria to be live bait. Doc Ock, MODOK, Storm, Vision, Iron Man, Thor, Captain Marvel, and Captain America. They tried hitting the magic shields with everything they had, and there wasn't even a dent. But no matter, Latveria's very own Sorcerer Supreme, Dr. Doom, came to the front door to welcome his guests. I will rush through this part because there's a few other things that I want to get to break down. But the long short of it is that they had an epic fight against Dr. Doom. The fight got rough to the point that Captain America had to be evacuated from the battlefield. That and a few other things regarding the Mad Thinker takes place on Avengers 25. If you guys want a video about Avengers 25, which is a tie-in, technically part 26 of One World Under Doom, let me know in the comments. If not, I did a review for that issue for my friends at Nerd Initiative. I'm gonna leave the link for the article in the description if you want to check it out. Back to the video. This squad managed to complete their mission. They kept Doom distracted so the second team could do what they were supposed to. Scarlet Witch, Goblin Queen, and Baron Mordo reached the world capitals and got a hold of the world leaders that were supporting Dr. Doom's united Latveria regime. Well, the ones that were still alive anyway. Scarlet Witch used her magic to go into the headspace of these people so she could look for whatever spell they were under and release them from Doom's control. So while the Avengers and the Masters of Evil duke it out with Doom, Scarlet reported back to Captain Marvel with incredible bad news. There were no spells to be released. The only magic Doom had used with all these world leaders was the magic to be in many places at the same time so he could negotiate with them, with all of them. Victor Von Doom tapped into whatever he saw in every single politician to exploit their hatred, their fears, and their hunger for power. In exchange for their loyalty to Doom, he promised them whatever their hearts desired. As stated by Wanda, power, money, security, health, time, sex, revenge. Yes, people, it really was that simple. Doom promised them what they wanted, and they gave in to the negotiations. No one was enchanted, no one was forced, no one was under duress. Like Wanda said, this is what the people chose. At this time, Doom took his victory lap. He sort of rubbed it in the Avengers' face with a big "I told you so." They were wrong all over again. This plan, even though it worked, right? Because the second team got the time they needed to uncover Doom's schemes, they found nothing. The Avengers are now 0-3 against Doom, but the day was not over yet. Doom informed the Avengers that there was a breakout happening at the Raft. For those of you who might not know, the Raft is this specialized prison in Rikers Island off the coast of New York, where the worst of the worst criminals are in prison. The Raft has been in comics for a while. It made its debut in comics in 2003 in Alias number 26 by Brian Michael Bendis. If you've seen the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, you've seen the Raft there as well. So here's the thing. Captain Marvel and the others saw right through this scheme. They could continue to fight Doom with the hopes they could beat him, but so far that was showing to be futile. Or they could go to the Raft and stop all those A-tier and B-tier bad guys from breaking out and wreaking havoc all over New York. If they stayed and fought Doom, he was going to use the footage to tell the people that the Avengers let the Raft prisoners escape so they could squabble with the world leader, effectively making the Avengers look bad again. But to my surprise, Captain Marvel said, "Nah, I don't care if we look bad. We will stay and fight you." And you know what Doom did? He transported or teleported the Avengers and the Masters of Evil to the Raft against their wills anyway. Once they were at the Raft, they rolled with the punches and fought to take all the prisoners under control and stop the prison break. As you can imagine, Doom took this opportunity to use the media to smear the Avengers once again. The spin on the story was that the Avengers were willing to let the prison break happen and put people's lives at risk so they could fight Doom. But the Sorcerer Supreme, in his infinite wisdom, forced them to handle the riot at the Raft instead, making himself sound like the hero again, when we know the chances are he was responsible for the prison break in the first place. Knowing Victor, I wouldn't put it past him, because he's dedicated all his time, efforts, and resources to build himself as the world's savior, and in doing so, Victor Von Doom failed to fulfill the duties and responsibilities of the Sorcerer Supreme. And I say that because this is an oversight that allowed Dormammu to invade this reality. If you never heard about this character, really quick, Dormammu is a powerful being and the ruler of the Dark Dimension, and he's been the arch enemy of Doctor Strange since he first debuted in Strange Tales number 126 from 1964. Here's probably the one thing Dr. Doom did not prepare for, or at least that is what it looks like as of right now. The Sorcerer Supreme is not just a mantle that comes along with a magical cape. It's a little bit more than that. In the Marvel Universe, the Sorcerer Supreme is an office granted to a particular practitioner of the mystic arts, and they will have access to great wellsprings of power that are unavailable to other practitioners. In other words, the Sorcerer Supreme has specific powers available only to him or her. If you want to read more about the role of the Sorcerer Supreme, you can check out the Death of Doctor Strange comic series by Jack McKay from 2021. But the short of it is that the Sorcerer Supreme has his special powers because one of the roles of holding that mantle is to protect the world from being invaded from other dimensions. So now that Dormammu is here, the first thing he does is take out all of the other heroes that could stop him. Now the only thing stopping the world from being consumed by Dormammu is the Sorcerer Supreme, Dr. Doom. My apologies if this video was a bit more long-winded than usual, but I really like how Ryan North is using the lore in Marvel Comics to inform this event and all the main characters in it, right? Like, he's not creating the lore as he's writing this event, which is, in my opinion, what causes a lot of events to fall flat, because there's all this time used to do exposition for the new big bad guy or the new army or the new whatever. Instead, we have a story that's built on what we already have, what we already know. And personally, I think that's a way more effective way to do events in superhero comics. Civil War, Secret Invasion, or Infinite Crisis on DC, right? Those events were built on established lore, character, or story storylines that already existed in their universes. That's why they resonate more with fans, because they already care about the characters in the story, and regardless what happens during or after the event, you know you will still see them on, like, for example, the Blood Coven from 2024's Bloodhunt event, or Null from King in Black. These characters that were created for or during an event, and then you rarely see them again. Not saying that their stories or the characters suck, it's just it's harder to get invested in them when they won't appear in comics again after the events are over. Alright, that's it. I'm out of my soapbox. I want to know what you guys think about One World Under Doom number 3, or the rest of the event for that matter. Is Marvel cooking with this event, or is this trash and I'm reaching for straws here? Let me know in the comments. With that being said, my name is Jiangxi, aka Year of the Collector. Thanks for watching, have a blessed day, and remember to read more comics.